Breaking news and good evening, America. This is Martin with Group 11 from ENTO 423. And today, I am here to report on the case of the feline fever outbreak running rampant across the country. With me today is our special guest and representative of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Joe Nolan, whom you may already know as a laureate of a Nobel Peace Prize, awarded to him for working out a global peace treaty between cats and dogs, and thus saving the furniture of many pet owners across the globe, including myself. However, enough about that. Without further ado, Dr. Know-It-All will now be giving you background information on this disease to ensure you and your family can avoid it at all costs. Well, thank you, Martin. First and foremost, we just want to say from our part of the Centers for Disease Control, thank you to the American public for giving us this opportunity to educate you all, and of course, thank you to you, Martin, and your network station for allowing us this opportunity as well, across the television network, to be able to present our research on the topic. So without further ado, just to start off on the disease itself, feline fever. What we do know about it so far is that the disease was first seen in Miami, Florida, and has been spreading across the United States ever since. Personally, we've already witnessed a case 3,000 miles away in Seattle, Washington, and it's clear that it's here, and it's clearly everywhere as well, not exclusive to not one state, but all across the United States. Personally, something else that we do know, at least confirmed from our end, is that we believe patient zero for this disease is Vicky Ehrlich-Rona. It is thought that she brought feline fever to this country when her several serval cats became infected with fleas upon her return from Malawi, Africa, on August 25th, 2018. On her way home to Billings, Montana, she had a layover in Miami, where her cats were lost for a few days, allowing the fleas to infect other animals at the airport. Our other reported patients include Madeline Richer, Cecil April, Yolandi Giranti from Seattle, Washington, Vic Ehrlich-Rona from Billings, Montana, Mark Pace from Las Vegas, Nevada, Rosemary Avery from Los Angeles, California, Mark Albert, also from Los Angeles, James Hess from Miami, Laura Sistrunk from Homestead, Florida, and Sadie Warren from Miami Springs, Florida. Now, in terms of the disease, we have determined that we have determined that the vector of this new disease is Tenocephalides felis, commonly known as the cat flea. C. felis is in the order Siphonaptera and family Pulicidae. As the name suggests, this flea is best adapted to feed on domestic animals and is the most common parasite of domestic cats and dogs worldwide. But it can also be found on humans and other mammals. The cat flea is believed to have originated in Africa, but now has a worldwide distribution and is particularly prevalent in the United States. These insects are of importance to humans due to their extreme annoyance factor, and I cannot stress this enough. If you have ever had some cat fleas, or if you have ever been around some cat fleas, you know what I am talking about. And their ability to carry and transmit pathogens. Knowledge of the habits and life cycle of C. felis are crucial to being able to control this insect and the diseases that it carries. Pardon me. Moving on to its life cycle, the cat flea is a holometabolous insect with a complete metamorphosis, 4-part life cycle. The future flea begins as an egg shed into the environment by a female before hatching into the larvae, becoming pupae, and finally hatching into an adult. While the entire life cycle can last anywhere from 30 to 75 days, it takes about 3 to 4 days for the larvae to hatch. The newly hatched larvae feed on organic debris while becoming a pupae. They form a cocoon out of organic environmental material before they hatch from the pupae state and become an adult, which takes around 3 to 4 weeks, after which they search for their first blood meal. On the feeding habits, the cat flea feeds primarily on domestic cats, although in the absence of a preferred host, it will and is known to feed on other mammals, such as, and not excluding, rabbits, dogs, horses, skunks, foxes, and poultry. Humans are a last resort for the cat flea, but they have been known to feed on humans in the absence of another suitable or more preferable host. Adult fleas attach to a host by piercing the skin and suck up blood with their mouth parts, where it is broken up as it passes through the proventriculus. As a larvae, however, they mostly feed on dried fecal matter from an adult cat flea, called, and I quote, flea dirt. To maximize access to hosts, the cat flea generally resides in the sleeping area of its host, to allow for easy access to a blood meal when it needs to feed. The genal and pronodal ctenidia ensures their attachment to the host, and their specialized jumping legs containing the protein resilin allows them to detach at will and easily seek another host. Now, on to more information about the cat flea itself. In the topic of its habitat, when the cat flea is not feeding, it remains and lives on the homes and nests of their hosts. This generally is a wide variety of places, as the cat flea can live almost anywhere that is suitably warm and humid to ensure development, including microhabitats like bedding and carpets, where they wait for a host to approach. Now, onto the reservoir, Leptilurus serval. Cats, specifically the serval cat, are extremely competent reservoirs for Pediococcus cutis. Serval cats are native to Africa and found primarily in savannas of southern and central Africa, near rivers and streams with thick brush and shrubbery, as they prefer areas with tall grass and reeds while staying close to water. The serval population is widespread in sub-Saharan countries and avoids rainforest regions. Their preferred habitat is preferable to the cat flea, who are found in a plethora of places, and enjoy warmer climates and are unrestrained in the natural habitat of servals. Servals are medium-spotted cats averaging about 30 to 40 pounds, with a short tail and long neck, which is why they are referred to as quote-unquote giraffe cats. Serval cats are typically not encouraged to be kept as pets, exemplified by the fact that patient 0, Vicia lacrona, was recorded to have brought several servals home from Africa, along with the cat fleas attached to them, thus beginning the spread of Pediococcus cutis. On to the disease agent itself. This disease, Pediococcus cutis, that caused infections in the patients can be classified as a form of atypical pneumonia. Now, for those who do not know, atypical pneumonia is an infection that infects the lower respiratory tract. The symptoms are less severe than typical pneumonia, but will usually be more persistent. It causes a variety of symptoms, ranging from headaches, fevers, a sore throat, and an earache. It presents flu-like symptoms, weakness, fatigue, and aches, as well as pain. The most common symptoms out of all of these are the headaches and fevers. This disease can affect different ages, but there are certain people that are more at risk and susceptible than others. Among these, and let me just rephrase back a bit here, these groups include people over the age of 65, people who smoke, and anyone with weakened immune systems or a chronic respiratory condition. In the aspect of weakened immune systems, this could include anybody and is not limited to immune disorders, heart disease, diabetes, etc. About the disease itself as well, the disease is contagious and can spread through close contact. It can also spread from coughing and sneezing as well. In order to diagnose this disease, a doctor will have to perform a physical exam, and in some cases, a chest x-ray is necessary. Since the disease agent, let me just return. Since the disease agent is part of the Pediococcus species, it can be treated with antibiotics. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can also be used to reduce the symptoms. Over-the-counter medications for colds and coughs can also be used. However, people with a more severe type of this disease, will require to be hospitalized and given intravenous antibiotic therapy. There are many prevention methods, but one of the most important could be for a person with the infection to cover his or her mouth during a cough or a sneeze. This disease is one of the Pediococcus strain of bacteria. Pediococci bacteria is a lactic acid bacteria and means they ferment glucose to lactic acid. These bacteria also are not resistant to penicillin, meaning many of your standard antibiotics. They are, however, resistant to vancomycin, another type of antibiotic. This bacteria is gram-positive, meaning the cell wall of Pediococci contain peptidoglycan, resulting in a violet color when tested. Catalase is, and I quote, an enzyme used by bacteria to induce the reaction of reduction of hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. This test is used to determine if a bacteria is streptococci or staphylococci, catalase negative or catalase positive. This bacteria is urease positive, meaning that it makes an enzyme called urease that breaks down urea to ammonia and carbon dioxide. Now, to control the spread of feline fever caused by the bacterium Pediococcus cutis, we will implement a vaccination protocol program. This program will be aimed at stopping the transmission of the vector cat flea to a human host. We decided to create this vaccine for human hosts instead of vaccinating felines for a multitude of reasons. If the vaccine was developed specifically for felines, the program would not be as successful because there are just simply too many feral stray felines that would not receive the vaccination. This is partly due to the requirement of owner's consent to administer a feline vaccine to their pets as well. While vaccinating the feline population would serve as a long-term solution, ultimately it would be more beneficial short-term to begin the process of disease eradication due to the disease mortality rate. We decided against breaking the link from vector to reservoir at this time, because a wide-scale extermination of the species would be very expensive, a costly time endeavor, and require too much toil for the plan to potentially be ineffective. Just to kind of outline it here within the presentation, a variation of this that one could do would be to possibly spray your own yards with specialized pesticide to kill fleas. You know, some of this could be purchased at your local hardware feed stores, and this could be you actively participating in breaking that link, a step that would involve the American public to potentially hamper the disease development. Now, pardon me, returning back to the vaccine. With the vaccine already approved by the FDA, this effort for disease prevention will be more efficient and a more practical first step to eventual eradication. Vaccination programs can be cost efficient and can save money in direct disease-related costs, as well as societal costs. According to researchers from our very own Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the current childhood immunization program is both a public health and financial success. Vaccination has been recognized as one of the most successful measures when it comes to public health. Therefore, the CDC has ultimately decided that vaccinating humans for feline fever is the best route and course of action at this time, and we will begin implementing this program effective immediately. By implementing this vaccination, we can decrease the amount of cases of feline fever, and that is crucial. To all the viewers across America, as fellow Americans, we in the CDC only ask that you consider vaccination for not only your health, but that of your loved ones as well. Remember, consider not just your own impact, but the impact you have on others. That is all. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Know-It-All, for informing not just myself, but many other of our fellow viewers on the aspects of this disease that has only recently come to haunt our country. Now, Joe, pardon us for asking these last set of questions, but before we do conclude the show, we do have some questions from the American public that we'd like to ask you if you'd feel okay with answering them live. Of course, Martin, whatever the questions may be, I feel ready to answer them in honor of the CDC and of course in honor of our public, and most importantly in honor of transparency. I'm ready to answer anything you may need to ask, of course, as long as it's not classified. That's perfect. And of course, we'll make sure not to try to get into that. So first things first, pardon me. The public would like to know, why should they trust the CDC? I think that's a good question, and one I myself have been wondering and pondering on, because one thing is, we definitely would hate for the American public to feel like they cannot trust us, to feel like our advice is just simply the word of another madman up north trying to say something else than what we truly need, But in regards to the question, I'd say they should trust us because we're people. We're people just like them. We're people just like everybody else, just like many of the viewers currently watching right now. We have families. We're sons. We're daughters. Grandparents. We're many things. And at the same time, we just want to see our families do okay, just as we wish to see the American public in general be fine. We live through many of the situations that many other families across the United States go through, that many other blue collar, white collar workers go through. We pick up our kids from school, and we simply want to make sure that society as a whole sees a better improvement in health, so that nobody has to go through the situations that many of us would fear to experience. That's fair enough. That's a great response. The next question is, what can be expected from the CDC moving forward? From us moving forward, of course, we've made it a goal of ours to be more transparent, as well as to exhibit better overall communication on new diseases and concerns with public. We know that oftentimes keeping a lot of this information to ourselves can limit the impact of many different things, and of course we're trying to experiment with different things to try and see how we can get the public involved. And of course, the more public participation that we can get in, the better methods we can try. And it's all a trial and error, but we're trying our best. We're trying our best to perform for the public and to give the public what it desires, and of course to just improve overall. Fair enough. So, Joe, pardon me, this will have to be our last question, but finally, if you had one last thing to say to our viewers, what would it be? I mean, Martin, I don't think I have to say that. Probably it would have to be to go get a vaccine. But most people already know that. So in light of that, I would probably just have to say to our viewers just to not be afraid. To not be afraid of the unknown. We understand that, this being a new thing, the disease being a new development, it can create panic and it can create fear. But there is no need to fear. With the vaccine, with the knowledge available right now, we are ready to combat it, but we just need the public's participation. And so going forward, I just have to say that ultimately, just do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. That would have to be it. Well, that I mean, okay. That just about concludes it.